All right, stream started, but let's get it rolling. I think we're rolling. You look mad, Jay.
I'm having to squint. I can't see anything.
Oh, new glasses sucks. That's why you wear your old ones.
Well, no, it's if I put them on because they dilated my eyes. If I put my glasses on, I can't see, like what's right in front of me anymore.
Right. So instead, you just look like you dose some LSD.
Live and talking about my lack of eyesight.
All right, let's start.
Welcome to Indie Game Business, run by two old guys.
What's up, everybody? My name's Indy, and the gentleman right next to me, that's Mr. Jay Powell from Powell Group Consulting, and this is Indie Game Business. And our special guest today is Jelle de Jong, and I guess I'll let you tell us a little bit about you. Or Jay's got his question.
Yeah, we always do the same first question, and so I'll get that started. Tell us, how you got into the industry initially, and walk us through your career up to what you're doing now.
Sure thing. So, well done on the pronunciation, of course. Jelle de Jong is how you exactly pronounce it here in Amsterdam, the Netherlands. For me, in the gaming, I'm quite a rookie in the gaming industry, actually. This month, officially, this is my first year in the gaming industry. So, it's been one awesome year so far. I've done quite a lot already, seen a lot of people, joined a lot of events as well. And I really, really like the gaming industry so far. If you look at my background, I mostly have like a commercial background. So I've done mostly sales during the past years at all different kinds of companies, from growth hacking, which is quite a buzzword at the moment in the marketing industry right now. And since last year, I had the opportunity to come to work here in the gaming industry because my two best friends actually started a great company, and I've seen them building it in the past 3 to 4 years. And then when they actually needed someone to set up the whole commercial aspect of the company, they luckily approached me. So that's kind of the background.
Nice. So, it's good. You've been doing this for just a year, and good news is if you make it 3 or 4 more, you're considered a veteran. Really? That's all you have to do.
Yeah, that's a term that I hear every single day. Like I'm a gaming veteran, and I'm like, when am I finally reaching that point? I have no clue.
Yeah, it's a short lifespan for a lot of folks. But it's good. We do this because we love it. That's the reality of it. I was telling that to somebody this morning. I was like, if you're in this industry because you think you're going to get rich, you're doing it wrong. Because while yes, there's that possibility, most of the time you're not.
That's exactly what I really love about the whole industry. It's like a game enthusiast. We are all gamers by heart. We love playing games. Everybody has their own genre which they love most. But like the basic sense, we are gamers. And when you join these kind of events, it's great to see like everybody's like who they are. You have CEOs with blue hair or purple hair. It's amazing. You don't see it anywhere else.
Yes, exactly. So, you reached out a couple of weeks ago and you had a very engaging message talking about human psychology and competitiveness and how it factors into, retention and engagement. Tell us a little bit to put some perspective on it. To those of us watching, like I said, live, I'm not angry as much as I just can't see anything because I've been to the eye doctor. Because I just saw myself on the video and I'm like, damn, I do look angry. Tell us a little bit about GameTransactionz so we can put it in perspective, and then we'll get into the research that you've been doing as well.
Cool. Yeah, sure thing. So I'm actually like CEO of two companies, both Ease Games and GameTransactionz, owned by the same people. And to give you like the whole story in a nutshell, Ease Games is our own skill gaming platform where players can challenge each other and compete head to head against others for free practice coins, but also for real money. That's of course where it gets really excited. And when we soft launched this platform, both on browser as on mobile, we found out that our metrics were performing incredibly well, especially if you compare them to the industry averages. And that's when we knew, like, all right, we have something special here. Let's help out other game studios in the industry, because all game studios are struggling with the same thing, from a saturated app store with all the new games being uploaded on a weekly basis, as with generating like proper revenue. And we had something special, so we focused all our resources and attention on creating an SDK, which we distribute under the name GameTransactionz, which can transform a regular, mostly hyper casual game into an esports platform or a competitive platform. So that's what we do, in short.
So let's talk about what you've learned. When did you start doing this research into the human psyche and why it makes us like? See, on one hand, it's like, well, of course, if you're super competitive, you're going to be more engaged in shit because you want to win.
Yeah,
but
definitely.
There's more to it than that. So I mean, walk us through. Just tell us what you've learned, basically.
Yeah, sure thing. So, yeah, in the beginning, like when we saw metrics of our players and we saw that they were quite high, especially for retention, for example, we know like, all right, it makes sense. It's cool to compete against others, but what's the big drive for this? And then I got invited to do a little talk during PGC in Helsinki last year, so I had to do like some proper research on what the main reason or the cause is for people to invest so much more time in our competitive games. And I found actually different research. First of all was research done by Ashley Merriman. She's a psychologist and co-author of a book called Top Dog. It's a whole book on research of human competitiveness, and she literally like figured out that humans are competitive by nature. It's something that we do on a daily basis. Like it's super simple with questions that we ask ourselves, like, hey, how am I doing in comparison to my brother, my sister, my mother, my best friends, maybe even. And she really found out that it's something that every human being has, right? It's really in our system. And that's something that we really tend to leverage with these games, and what we see happening, of course. So what she also figured out is that like proper competitors or people who do this more often or on a pro level is that they know exactly like what games to invest time in, what games to compete in, and they understand really well that it takes quite a lot of time to increase your own skill level, to become better at the game, so to increase your opportunity of winning. So that was like the first bit of research that I've done. Secondly, which is more and more interesting, is like neuroscience behind this. So there's this researcher, she's called Muriel Niederle. I don't know if I pronounced that right. And she found out that like when humans start competing, our body gives us an extra dopamine and testosterone kick, a bit of a spike actually, to help us really compete on our peak performance, right? So our body is enabling us to perform at our best during these competitions, and as well as helping us to perform as best and hopefully win, of course. And that's where it gets like really, really exciting for me.
So if it's a dopamine burst, and we talked about this like maybe a year ago with Jaime Rhymes. Well, I mean, we talked about the dopamine and the Our Games addictive thing, but if it's a dopamine burst, then eventually you're going to need more and more. It's going to wear off. It's not going to be as effective at keeping you going and keeping you happy and keeping you engaged. So what are the differences? I mean, how did you test the engaged or not engaged, when it comes to the games and the platform, and how does that affect over time? I mean, what happens over time with that?
So, like, if we compare the games that we offer currently in comparison to other normal or original games, they're all hyper casual or casual. So it's all the exact same genre. But for let's say a top performing hyper casual game, the day 28 retention of the top performing games is like 15%. In our case, that's 35% for paying players. So it's incredibly high. It's just incredibly high. So I knew there has to be something there, right? And if you like, the only difference between original games and our games is the competitive edge in the games that we offer, as well as the real money element in there. So that's when I really knew, all right, there should be something here that has a substantial influence on it. And that's really the human competitiveness factor in it. And then, yeah, sorry?
Oh, no, go ahead. I'll write it down. Don't worry about it.
Cool. So what you mentioned about like this dopamine kick and it should wear out. If we check like the retention rate of a paying player, for instance, for a year, you see that in the beginning they start playing day 1, day 2, it's great. Then there's a bit of a dip, and out of nowhere there's a new spike coming up a couple of weeks later. And that's super interesting to see, and I really believe that there's a proper connection between that retention that players show and the actual human competitiveness factor behind it.
So it's interesting that you've got that 35% day 28 retention, because what we always hear about hyper casual games is people play them for like a week and then they want to find another one. So are they playing the same game that whole time, or is it their retention with the platform across multiple games?
So in the case of Ease Games, we have like 6 different games on there. So there would be a potential of players just moving around, shifting and playing different games each time. But with what we notice of the top performing players right now, the top league, they all play like 1 or 2 games regularly on a daily basis. Non-stop, and that's something like the connection with hyper casual games is what I believe is so super interesting here, is because every game studio and publisher, they define hyper casual games as very easy to learn and a bit harder to master. And I don't believe that those studios and publishers, that they leverage that as well as they could. Because this natural learning curve, right, enables people to invest more time in the game, to become better in the game, and they will definitely do so as long as the incentive is correct. That's what I believe.
So how are and it's the one on the whole, easy to learn, hard to master. People saying that shit about games for 20 years, and you're right. It just depends on whether or not they actually mean it. But at this point, using that as a marketing hook in the industry is just kind of like, all right, whatever. I know it's what, so is chess, and it's been around for a long time. Yeah. So how do the games that you create for the platform differ than the normal hyper casual games?
So the only difference is the fact that you play it competitively against another player. That's the main difference, and the fact that you can play for real money. So most of the games still are played for free practice coins, which are completely free. Like, you don't have to do anything to get them, and you can start playing. And then some players play for real money, for which, of course, they have to create an account and deposit money on that account. But the retention rate counts for every single game out there. Yeah.
So, and to put everything in perspective, and I'm going back and looking at notes here this morning, we say that 35% at day 28 is really good. What are the normals? What are the benchmarks that most of these games see compared to what you're seeing?
Sure thing. So, like, if you take a look at a very popular publisher like Voodoo, they set very, very strict benchmarks for retention, right? Before they collaborate with a hyper casual game. So I believe their day one retention is like between 40 and 50%, and the day 7 retention is around 15, which is already like super high for hyper casual. But there's this report from Game Analytics, which I always love to read and use. Let me double check what the exact numbers are. But for like day 28, the top performing hyper casual games have a retention of 5%.
Yeah.
That's day 28. And in our case, it's 28%. Like in our case, sorry, it's 35% for paying players. But if you look for all players in general, it's 16%. But that's still 3 times as high.
So, I mean, but there has to be stuff that you all are doing in your games to make them that much engaging, because competitiveness is one thing, but competitiveness alone doesn't cover 30% over 20 days. That's a huge. I mean, is it a learning curve issue? Is it a theme? Is it, there's something in there that's different that's causing you to see it, or do you think it's just because it's competitive?
I think it's mostly because it's competitive and because the real money aspect in it. Because you can win proper money by playing games. And then in combination with the learning factor in there, yeah, that's really the main reason why. So like we have like games that you see everywhere. It's a penalty shooter, for instance, or a bowling game that we have on our platform. You play as a gamer, or as a player, you play the game for 2 minutes straight and score as many points as possible within that 2-minute time limit. And at the end, the player with the highest score wins the prize pool. If it is like practice coins or free money, doesn't really matter. At the end of 2 minutes, you win. And the main difference is the prize pool at the end, and the fact that you're competing against someone else. So, of course, you want to perform well, right? Even if you're competing against yourself, it's all about scoring as many points as possible, because there's something tangible on the line right here.
I can't get over how big of a spike that is. That's a huge.
So to be completely transparent, the data is based on like a small set of daily active users that we currently have, because we have only soft launched the platform about 1.5 years ago. So I'm not talking about like 100,000s of daily active users at all. But if you look at that, all the data which we have collected for the past year now, what you see is that the biggest amount of this player base is still super engaged. Like I have players playing every single day. When something is, for instance, give you a super simple example. There was one point when someone was scoring like a crazy amount of points on our platform, and we were really researching his account, and he emailed us straight away like, "Hey guys, what's going on? I want to play more games. I want to know what's going on with my account currently," because everybody is on this app competing against others and winning real money. As well as to give you an example, the top performing player right now, he has won over 22,000 euros in the past year.
In the past what?
In the past year that we're live.
Oh, jeez.
22,000 euros.
How many hours a day is this person playing?
I don't even want to know. It's amazing. So for him, like in this case, the guy is actually from an Eastern European country. From
That's
Romania, I believe.
A shitload of money.
For them, it's more than the average annual income.
Yeah.
Yeah. So like we have like proper pro players on our platform competing every single day.
Oh my God. So we're talking to Jelle. Did I get that right?
Yeah, that's perfect.
So it's even worse when you have like the Southern accent, because we screw up every name anyway.
It's Jelle.
Jelle. So
that's great.
We're talking about the psychology of of competitiveness in humans and how it affects the retention and the engagement in this stuff. And so if you've got questions on any of it, whether you're on Twitch or Mixer or Facebook or LinkedIn or YouTube, wherever, throw it in chat. We'll see the question, and we'll get to it live on the show. That is But so do you think if we took any hyper casual game out there on the market and put it in there, it would have the same, as long as you're doing it competitively, right?
Yeah.
So is it like asynchronous? I haven't seen the games themselves, but is it I'm playing against Indy and who can get the higher score on a single player, or is it like a PvP type thing?
It's indeed asynchronized multiplayer. So which means that you have two players playing the exact same level against another, but you don't have to play live at the same moment. So if I go on the app right now, I select the game I want to play and the amount I would like to play for. The system is then going to match me against an opponent of equal skill, because that's a very important factor as well. And when we match, I start playing my game, my level, for 2 minutes straight, and my opponent is playing live at the same moment, or he has already played the level before. And at the end, the scores are matched, and then the person with the highest score actually wins.
So how long does it keep? So if I play this morning and then Indy plays like later today, how long is my recording or my score kept in there before it's kicked out for somebody else's?
It's 24 hours before we kick it out. And then when there's no match found within the 24 hours, you'll get your money back.
That's absolutely. I'm still trying to wrap my head around that.
Yeah, it's very interesting. Like it all started like 4 years ago, when actually my best friends were playing a game of pool in a bar. And to up the ante, they put in like 10 euros. The winner takes 10 euros. And after playing, like the game was so much more exciting. It was so much more fun.
It is.
Because you're not focusing on drinking beer and playing a game of pool. No, you're focusing on winning. You want to perform well. And that's when they like something hit them. Like, hey, wow, why can't we make a mobile version out of this?
I mean, it's what we've been doing in our homes and for years with our friends. It's like, all right, we're gonna run a lap in Mario Kart and I'll put $1 down and see who wins. And we do it at bars as well. To take it to that next level, be able to do it, wherever you are. That's obviously a bigger part of it. So Nightwolf has a question. Hold on, bear with me here. Indy, can you read that? Because I can't see this out of my screen.
Sure, I can read it. That probably explains why in ranking games like League of Legends, Overwatch, Smite, etc., they have this grind for rank, which can be thousands plus players per year. A win is worth more there and can be increased with more wins, but risk of loss can really hurt their high and cause them to lose more and then want to go back up winning. That really wasn't a question, but that's what he said.
So the question that I had from that is, have you tested different ways of competitiveness, one versus like an ELO ranking, and so you go up in tiers, that sort of stuff? Have you tested that? Is there anything that says one way of being competitive is better than another way?
So we actually have 3 forms of competing. You compete head-to-head against another player. That's the first and foremost option that we offer. Then you have tournament options, and there are 2 options. One is an option where there's a set price already organized by the game owner of, let's say, $100, and then players can join for free practice coins, and then the top ranking players actually get a share of the total prize pool. And the second tournament that we offer is a version where there's a set minimum of the prize pool of, let's say, €5 or €10, and then for each player joining for an entry fee of €1, the prize pool increases, and then still again the top ranking player wins. So those are the 3 forms of competitions that we offer. But like in all cases, they are like everybody starts playing those immediately and quite a lot. What I do see, because I don't have like tangible data I can share with you that is interesting on that, because there's not a big of a difference. What I do notice is that like the top performing players, they tend to go for the tournaments, because their chance of winning there is a lot bigger, since they are so skillful in these games at this point that they can end up like in the top 5 or the top 10 quite easily. And regular players, especially players who play for free practice coins, play a lot against others head to head.
So, I mean, you said there's different ranks. So when you get to the tournaments, are you sectioning off people to be in a certain level of tournament versus another level of tournament, or is it like everybody gets thrown into the same tournament?
Yeah, and this, like right now, everybody's thrown in the same tournament, but you can join multiple times to improve your score. It's usually like a tournament of 1 day or 1 week. In the case of head-to-head real money gaming, yeah, we definitely like do fair player matching. So if you would start out with a new account right now, you would definitely not be matched against a player who has won over 22,000 euros by now.
But how do you prevent smurfing? How do you prevent that person who has won 20 grand over the last year from creating a different account and just completely wrecking people at the lower end because their account's new, they're considered a new person?
Yeah, that's definitely like a big thing or a big aspect that we have to focus on right now. Lots of people try a lot of different techniques. It's quite ingenious to see what they come up with. But we have several security measures set up. We have, for instance, also like different tiers of information that you have to provide us before you can top up your account with more money. So if you would like to have like $100 on your account right now, we need your name. We need like all types of extra information of the person before they are able to have this amount on their platform or on their account. And that's actually something that we focus on a lot. For us, the main goal is to offer something fun, right? Competing against friends, putting in €1 to make it more exciting. So yeah, for instance, you can't play a game against another player for $100. There's a cap on that. There's a cap of like €10 per game, because we focus on fun games and not on some I don't know, poker site or something.
Yeah, I can't do it. I've never been good at the poker end of it anyway. But I mean, but this is you're in a spot where you're getting a very wide spectrum of players in the first place because you're in hyper casual. If you go to something like a shooter, or every genre's got its own primary demographics, but when you're dealing with that casual, hyper casual market, you've got a very wide spectrum of the industry that you're going to, which makes all this research that much more interesting. Is because it's not like sectioned off. It's not like, well, we do this and it's really, great, and we're earning a lot of money on 13 to 24-year-old girls or boys or whatever. You've got a very wide spectrum. So where does this go next? What have you learned in terms of, that you can share, obviously, in terms of how developers and publishers can make this more interesting and use this, in their own games?
Sure thing. So that's something that we focus on as GameTransactionz, right? Where we distribute our SDK that can transform a copy of an original game into a platform like this. So how we see it working right now is that this can offer an additional revenue model, but also an additional player experience for the current player base. So what we see mostly is that someone with a hyper casual game keeps on offering that version of the game, but also makes a copy of it, strips it of everything but the core gameplay, integrates our SDK into it, which then creates this very intuitive user interface, enabling players to compete against others and use this as an additional revenue model. I think especially super interesting for like publishers or so, because regularly they have this immense drop-off of 85% of the players at day 7. What if they funnel those players towards the competitive version and offer them this new experience? I believe that this tends to work really well, especially since players of the original version already have experience with the game. They have a higher skill level, and they would be probably able to perform better on the skill version.
And that's interesting too, because we've seen games have had a life cycle for as long as we've had games. Now it used to be like, just to show my age here, you release a game at $60 at GameStop or Best Buy or whatever the local retailer is, and then over time, there's a expansion pack that comes out, and then maybe it gets cut down to a $30 price point, and then it gets bundled with something else, and then it ends up in a jewel case at Walmart for $10. And it's harder to create that life cycle with digital games, and especially with mobile games as well. But it's something that we're starting to see because of subscription services. Yeah. So when we talk to companies about solutions like what y'all are doing at GameTransactionz, the main thing we hear back from developers and publishers is, I don't want to cannibalize our existing sales. It's like, fine, don't. But this could be something that allows you, to extend that life cycle. You run it, if your day 28 retention is 5%, then after a month, take the game off of your rotation and drop it into something like this, where it's going to be new and it's going to see new revenue streams come in. It's something as an industry that we've got to start planning for, and developers need to be thinking about this in terms of what's the life cycle of my game and how do I get the most out of it.
Yeah, that's completely in line with the way that we think. There's just such an opportunity to keep players engaged with a new experience instead of just dropping them off after day 7 or day 28. And this is certainly like the way that we are approaching this right now. Game studios, from very, very small indie studios to the biggest titles out there, are currently working on skill version to be integrated with our solution. And it's very interesting to see. Our first integrated game is actually built by a very small studio in Vietnam, who I've met during PGC in London last year. And they were super excited, testing new things out, right? They were used to offering in-game ads and in-game purchases in their games. And they were figuring out, hey, how can I leverage this new business model and see if it works? And it was very exciting.
So you can show us the platform. We did test that. That works, right?
Yeah, we tested it. It works.
So walk us through it, and we're going to have to describe it a lot because we do have a lot of people that listen to the podcast and they obviously can't see what's on the screen. But
sure.
Walk us through it, and then, I've got more questions. And if anyone out there, if you're listening, you're watching, if you got questions, drop them in chat.
Yeah, sure thing. I'll do it slowly. Let me share my screen. If I'm correct, you can see my screen now, right?
Yes.
So the fact that this is Ease Games, which we've built in Java, and we wrapped into an app. So that's why I can show you the browser version as well. But this is exactly what the version on the App Store would look like. So this is the platform, and in the top right corner you actually see my account. Probably no one can see, but it's actually me as the avatar, which other players can choose as well. This is a funny little detail. And I'm like level 22. I'm actually not that good at playing these games. And on the left hand side you see that I have 19 euros on my account right now, and I have 110 practice coins. So when I start playing and I use up all my practice coins, then it takes about 10 minutes, and then you get 100 new ones, and then you can start practicing again. And then at the moment that you feel confident enough about your skill level, you can deposit a little bit of money on your account from 10 euros on and start playing for real money. So that's the basic principle. And then if I scroll down, you see that we actually have different games on the platform. I can directly start playing. So if I click on it, I can directly play. There's nothing in between. So these are our own games on our platform. We also have our partner games because we believe it's very important to help our new partners, especially indie developers like Wingy Shooter. This is the game from Vietnam, to get the first traffic on the platform. If I would click on this, I would go to the App Store link, actually. but then I can start playing with the same account I have here.
Are all these only available on iOS, or is there Android as well?
Yeah, so that's a very good question. It's currently only available on the App Store, simply because Google doesn't allow real money gaming yet.
I didn't know.
There are some workarounds to get it as an APK on your Android device as well. But in general, we mainly focused on iOS currently.
So Google isn't allowing real money gambling on, or I'm sorry, I'm not going to say gambling because that's a difference in the US. Real money competitions anywhere at all?
Currently not, but we do expect some changes in that in the upcoming years, since this industry is simply growing so fast.
It is. I get it. From the U.S. standpoint, we've always had that. There's a couple of states where it's legal, but for the most part, you have to be very clear in that this is a game of skill, not a game of chance, or you can't do it.
Exactly.
But I didn't realize that Google wasn't allowing it at all. So are they all iOS, or can you do it on PC too?
So these partner games are all iOS, but these on top here are HTML5 games, so I can show you on PC too. But give me one more second to run through the last points before we jump into a game. It's like the competitions that we've mentioned. So you have two kind of competitions people can also join. One is with a set prize, and if you join for free practice coins, you can actually win real money. And the other, you join with real money, and then the prize pool increases by the number of players that join. But on the bottom here, this is where it gets so exciting, is our top rank list. And on the number one right now is Mr. D-Dogs, and he has won over 20,000 euros playing in the past year.
Damn.
It's just incredible to see, right?
Hey, honey.
Yeah, I've got some extra money. What do you do all day?
What's up?
Play games.
That is crazy. All right, so what's the next one down with the live winnings it's showing?
So this is actually the live winnings. So on the top here is Ritje. I don't know how to pronounce his name, and he just won a game of free kick shooter and won €1.70. And then down below you see other people, what they've played and which games, and just the live winnings of the platform.
So, since it's HTML5, people on Android devices should still be able to play it. You just can't get it off the Google store, right?
Exactly. So there are some workarounds to get the APK of the platform, but since we help with user acquisition and giving advice on that, at least, we really aim for the App Store, because that's where people can directly download the app.
That's always the easiest, but it's not like you can't do this if you have an Android phone.
Correct.
I had another question, but I forgot what it was.
I'll show you a game then, just to show you what it looks like. So if I click on the game, it gives me the option to play for real money or to play for practice coins. Let's play for real money in this case, because it's just more exciting. Go for 2 players. The prize pool, if you notice, is €1.70. So the player puts in €1, other player puts in €1, and we charge an entry fee of 15%. That's actually the revenue model behind this whole platform, which means that you have a prize pool in this case of €1.70, and the winning player gets this. And then I have the opportunity to click and play, and the system is going to look for an opponent of equal skill, or I can directly challenge someone on the platform of which I know his username, or I can challenge them via any social media, via a link. This is really something that we support, of course, because that's the main goal of the platform: challenging friends, beating friends, especially. That's what it looks like. If I click on play, it will take about 8 seconds to find an opponent. If the platform is not able to find someone, it's no problem at all. I can start playing already, and then my score is being matched against someone else. But we actually found someone now, so we can start. cancel the noise for you guys. And here it's a simple hyper casual game. So I have a time limit of 2 minutes. We always have a time limit because the shorter the game, the more games are played at the end of the day. And the main goal is to score as many points as possible. And next to that is just a regular hyper casual game. This makes sense, right?
Yeah. So do you see a difference in popularity between games that are, match threes versus shooters versus other genres of hyper casual games?
Yeah, definitely. We see some differences, but I do believe that we do need like a little bit more data to really give a proper reasoning behind it. But it's as simple as the more exciting, fast-paced games, those tend to work better than slow-moving games. Yeah, just as what you would imagine for the original version of the game.
Don't let him win.
No, I have to let him win because then I have a happy new player, right?
That's the opposite of being competitive. That's the.
In this case, yes. But since I'm partly owner of this whole platform, I cannot start like winning every single game out there because that's considered.
People don't learn anything by doing it correctly. You only learn, when you get owned at something here. So
get that purple one. Get that purple one.
This one is huge.
Oh no!
A big bomb.
There we go.
Let's see what happens in the end. I have like 2,300 points. See if I got beaten by this. By not doing.
He's got over 10 grand.
Can you see what their score was?
Yeah, afterwards. So when the game is live, you see a live score, but in this case it's afterwards. So I lost. It's clearly in red right here. I had only 2,400 points and he had almost 6,000 points.
He still didn't do that well.
No. You can beat this, right? So this is exactly what happens.
I could have got over 9,000.
This is the human competitiveness, which helps with the engagement and the retention of the platform. Because that's what you think. Like the immediate thought that you have right now is, I can beat that. And to give you more details on that, because that's also in the research of the neuroscientists, is that after a competition in general, our body gives us another testosterone spike, which prepares us for the next challenge. So this is why people, and now we have seen it live, when you lose, you really like ready for the next game. You're like, hey, wait for it. I can do better. I have a chance of winning. And that's all due to this extra testosterone that really runs through your body.
I also call it like the golf effect. You can sit down and watch a golf tournament and you can go, well, I can do that. And the same way with a lot of esports. It's like, I can't be a professional linebacker or a professional basketball player. I'm too short, I'm too old, too fat, basically. But in theory, if I practice enough, I can play golf as well as anybody else, and I can do esports as well as anybody else. And so that's where it gets in. It's not just that it's competitive. You get a sense of, oh, I can do this. This isn't something that I'm going to be limited on based on, physical or mental. It's like, no, I can't be solving complex math equations or anything like that. But, you look at stuff like this and like I said, it's like, oh my God, I can do that. I can beat that. And the next thing you know, you're sitting here and winning $22,000 a year playing a fucking match 3 game.
Yeah, exactly. So even like, for example, we of course focus mainly on people of the age group 18 to 35 or so. But for instance, my mother, she's like a really frequent match 3 player. She plays Candy Crush every single day.
Yeah, so that's interesting.
I know for sure that if I compete against her in this game Fruit Crush, she would crush me, definitely. So even my mom would be like a potential player of the platform.
Why is the focus on 18 to 34-year-olds when what we've seen for years is, especially the casual market, leans 35 and older female, and casual players, as we get older, we're more likely to dump money into something versus dumping time into something. It would seem to me like your target market would actually be that older crowd versus the 18 to 34 crowd.
Yeah, that makes sense. It's something that we are still learning and researching at this point. So, like currently, we focus on friends and family, and of course, like with user acquisition on players that are. Excited about skill gaming and winning real money. Those are usually some younger players, but there's definitely going to be a trend where this age group is going to increase. We also in these type of games, by the way, see that women are playing competitively a lot as well.
Yeah, because that's the demographic that we've always seen. I've been making casual games for 10, 15 years, and that's always where we aimed at it. So it's interesting that your targeting is in that younger demographic.
Do you want to know a fun fact, by the way, just quickly in between, because I came up with it again? In the difference between men and women, it's super interesting. There was this research done. I have to check out her name because it's fair to say her name as well. But it's research done by Muriel. No, it wasn't Muriel. It was someone else. Sorry, it was a research done by this scientist from Oxford, and she figured out that if you ask a test group of men and women to start competing in a certain match or whatever, that guys in general, they tend to agree and jump in the competition right away. It's about 70% of the guys says, yes, I want to compete right here, right now. And only about 30% of the females want to compete. And like there's a significant difference there, right? It's like 40%. And what she figured out is that females or women are really great at calculating the risk and calculating the opportunity, their chance of winning and stuff
smarter.
like that. They're smart. And we guys, we are great as well, but we are really great at ignoring all these calculations and just jump right to it.
That doesn't surprise me one.
Not at all, right?
No,
Not at all.
that makes perfect sense. Because that's why my wife and I went to Vegas many years ago, and she would hit a certain point, and where she was up money, and then she would quit and walk away. And then me, I'm sitting there, and I'm like, yeah, I'm up money, but now I can get up more because I'm not doing the math in my head, going, this is probably stupid for me to keep doing this, where she was. And so that's why she came home with money, and I didn't.
That's like an appropriate difference.
So Heidi says you have to let your opponent win 30% of the time for max interactivity. That's proven in the lab between big rats and small rats play fighting. Can we get the video of that? That's crazy. We're coming up on our time here. This is just absolutely interesting. I want to look at this later on, like a year from now, and see how the games have evolved, because it is interesting when you're thinking, you're talking about, okay, the guys want to jump in right now, but the women are the ones that this is targeted against. How does that affect your marketing? How does that affect, different types of games that are on there? Because all of this stuff is different, and we're seeing more and more from the esports side, from the skill-based gaming side, however we want to phrase that to make it legal. It is something that's been around for a long time, but at the same time, it's still evolving, and it still hasn't caught like mass groups like other things have. So I've been making skill-based competitive games for 15 years. They've been around. It's not a new thing, but what is interesting is now everybody's starting to pay attention, and it's like, okay, are we at a second genesis of the stuff? And are the companies that already have this knowledge of what works going to be doing better than the ones who, are just getting into it? And so there's a lot of there's a lot of factors in there that I'm curious about. Indy, I see that chat is like blowing the hell up right now.
Yeah, they're talking to each other. How dare they?
Screw them. What's up?
Jaime says Jordan Peterson talked about the small rats needing to win 30% of the time to not be discouraged versus a bigger opponent. That's what he said there.
So you only have to win a third of the time versus getting your ass handed to you by a bigger opponent to make you want to come back and do it again. On one level, that sounds crazy. On another level, you think about it and it's like, yeah, okay, that makes sense.
Well, I mean, people go to casinos and your odds are shit. You know what I mean? But people still play. You have like a 30% chance of winning, but yet you'll still play.
30% chance of winning at a casino is ridiculously good.
Yeah,
that's never going to happen. But a 30% of winning in a game is that's much more attainable, much more realistic. Anything else that you want to add here, Jelle? Because it's like I said, this is very interesting, but I also want to see where it goes from here. So, one, if there are developers out there that want to implement this in their games, what do they do?
Definitely possible. Simply go to GameTransactionz with a Z.com. We have our website there where you can download the free SDK. So that's also very good to tell people it's all free. Like you can integrate this SDK, create this intuitive esports platform which you then have to publish to the App Store, and of course, like for each game that wants to integrate with this, we do have to make some adjustments to the game itself. Simple things like adding a timer, adding a score counter, but most importantly, removing all random elements out of the game. Because it has to be 100% skill based. There shouldn't be any gambling or whatever element in the game left. Start out by checking GameTransactionz.com. And we are very, very interested in helping as many game studios with high quality games that we can.
They want games in their in their system. So one, and I'm going to completely segue into something here. GDC got canceled. But there are still a whole lot of people who are still going out to San Francisco. And for those of you who did not hear the news on Monday, we actually just merged our next virtual event with the Meet to Match on-site event. So if you go to indiegame.business now, the ticket that you buy for the event's no longer April 2nd and 3rd. Now it's the whole week of March 16th to the 20th. But there's 700 plus companies to meet with now. And so, during the hours that the system's open, and, one, be patient, because it's easy for me to say, well, we haven't done something of this size before. The reality is no one in the industry has done something this size.
Yeah, it's crazy.
It's absolutely nuts that you can be sitting over in Amsterdam right now, but you can book meetings, and for a week you're going to have the opportunity to meet with 700 people regardless of where you are. There's 125 plus publishers signed up right now. There are 230 some publishers or companies who want to talk to developers that have content, and Jelle's going to be one. Do you have a ticket yet?
I don't have a ticket yet, but it's definitely on my to-do list. 100%, no worries.
You should absolutely do it. So go to indiegame.business, and then when you hit the buy the ticket button, it's not going to automatically give you the discount code, but if you type indie devs, all one word, then you're going to get 50% off, because we dropped the ticket price because we know so many studios and companies got completely screwed by, they've already paid for hotels, they've already paid for flights and all that sort of stuff. So we're trying to make it as cheap as possible, but literally never have you had an opportunity to meet with this many developers and publishers, and you don't have to go anywhere. So, I'm going to badger, you here, and he's going to have GameTransactionz is going to be there. And so if you want to meet with him, you can do that too.
Excellent. Anything else?
No, it's just my week has been crazy because we started doing that.
Yeah.
And it's going to get worse.
And when you do your Eventbrite ticket, it takes a while to get the email to log into the Meet to Match site. I'm still waiting for mine because I did my ticket the other day and I still haven't gotten my email yet. So it's taking a little bit of time sometimes for those emails to process through.
Just be patient.
Yeah. And then if not, just message Jay like 20 times. And
yeah, exactly. Email it to me. Andy, speaking of which, email me your ticket, and that way we can check it. Because we have, on the technical side, what we did was we literally moved people from one event to another, which requires all kind of different API hooks, and some of which were set up and some of them weren't. And so, yeah, we're still working on it. But yeah, this is a ridiculous opportunity, and no one's ever done this.
What's the stats on the companies for the Indie Game Business Con? There's 700. Over 700?
Yeah.
100 and some publishers.
We got 125, 130 some publishers, and then another 40 to 50 investors that are signed up. So by the time this thing actually rolls around in a week and a half, I would easily say there's going to be 200 publishers there. I mean, and you get a ticket for $50. So is $50?
Even if there was only 10 publishers there, it'd be worth it.
Most of companies that, and we've been managing these shows for a very, very long time. Most companies when they go to GDC and these things, if they get 15 meetings, they're ecstatic. And you can easily end up with 20 or 30 meetings. So Exodus is saying, can you explain how it works? All right, so we've got an Eventbrite link that's been all over everything anyway, but I'm going to pull it and post it again if I can find where it is on my computer. So you either go to indiegame.business.
I've got it. Right, I'll post it.
Have you got the discount code?
Discount Indie Dev. Yeah. So Indy's going to post a link in here. But if you can go to our Twitter account, Facebook, anywhere we have it, and we've been talking about it. But you go there, you get a ticket. You'll get a confirmation from Eventbrite, and then you'll get an email from Meet to Match to set up your account. And if you've ever been to any Meet to Match event in the past, you don't even have to go and retype everything. It'll say, hey, you want to use the profile that you set up last time. And you may have to update stuff, but for all intents and purposes, it's there. Then once you get into the Meet to Match system, you can sort and see, if I want to go and say, hey, this is the publishers, I want to meet with publishers. It will list the companies that are just publishers. If you only want to meet with mobile companies, if you want to meet with developers or investors, you can literally go through, if you're looking for an audio team, like our clients over at Unlock Audio, you can say, I want to find audio teams. And it, spits it out right there for you. And then you just click, I want to meet, and you find an empty time on their schedule and you click it. Now, the thing that is different this time versus the way we usually do these events is the link to the video call isn't going to be in the calendar invite. We've got a prompt when you're logging in to put in your Skype name or however you want to do the video call. With 2 weeks to build this and 700 some people, we just haven't. We didn't even want to fight with the whole, integrated via, video calls. So you'll do the actual meeting through Skype or through Google Hangouts or through Zoom or whatever you use. But you can go in there and you can immediately see exactly what these companies want to see. I'm a publisher. I'm looking for, mobile games that are near to completion that I need to invest less than $50,000 on. There's a whole lot of little buttons and switches you can flip, but you'll know exactly who you need to meet with. You don't have to know anybody up front. That's the purpose of the whole matchmaking system. And then, the best thing is you don't have to travel anywhere. So you can do this from your entire office or couch. All you need is a laptop and a headset, basically. Did that answer everything? He also says there are a list of publishers, investors attending.
You're killing me here with all these questions.
When you log in and sign up, then you get the whole list of everything.
No, there's actually an easier way. I've just got to find the right link. So because I'm logged into the system, I have to like log out to make it do it. But bear with me. I can do this. Log out. Because when you go to log in to the Meet the Match page, it actually shows you. So yeah, go right there, and then just scroll and scroll and scroll and scroll.
That's a couple people.
Yeah, no, really. All right. And if you got any questions, I mean, find us on Discord too, as well. You know, that's always there as well. You know, thanks for so much for this. This has been extremely interesting, and I love it. We'll get you set up for the event as well, so you can meet with a lot of these developers that are going to be there.
That's cool. That's cool. Yeah, thank you guys so much for the opportunity as well. There's so much more to come, and yeah, the longer we do this, the more interesting insights we will have, and hopefully next time I can share some extra details with you guys.
Excellent.
Yeah, awesome, dude. You're welcome back anytime, and you're on our Discord. So if you just go to discord.gg/indiegamebusiness, you can chat with him as well as most of our other guests as well. They're there. We've got 800 and some people or companies on it now, which is amazing.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Also, make sure, and this, along with everything else, will be on anchor.fm/indiegamebusiness, so you can listen to at your leisure.
Exactly.
Also on YouTube and Twitch, we save the highlights and on YouTube in the live stream playlist. Excellent.
Awesome.
All right.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Cheers.